Hi, hello, and good afternoon. I'm glad to see you all today. My name is Alina Cherepynska, and I'm a senior lecturer at Ukrainian-American Concordia University. And as it was announced, today we're going to speak about motivation letter. What should you do? What is better to avoid? How to structure your writing? And how to have a successful letter. So I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to start. Okay. So let me know if you can see my screen. I guess everything is okay. Yep. Okay, let's go. Uh-huh. So motivation letter. Actually a pretty interesting type of writing because it's not so easy as you may think. At the same time, if you have a proper structure, everything will be as perfect as possible. That is why today we're going to discuss what is a motivation letter. That's the first hour point. Then we will speak about where do you need it, where you can use it, then our structure, then what should you do, what you better to avoid, some examples, and let's go. So the first one question that may exist is what is actually a motivation letter or a motivational letter? And as you can see on the screen, a motivation letter is a document. And actually here we even need to put a full stop. You need to understand that motivation letter, it's not just a letter, it's the type of the document. That is why it's actually a part of responsibility. You need to understand that documents, it's pretty crucial thing that you need to use in your life, especially motivation letter right now is currently very popular type of writing. That is why the first one point to understand it's a document. That is why that's the level of responsibility. In your document, you need to show your professional skills and reasons for applying to a particular course of study or university, or later I will also tell you where you also need motivation letter. At the same time, here you can see that you need to emphasize on your professional skills and the reasons to be a part of a university program, study program, even job opportunity, some non-profit organizations, or even volunteerism. Later or below, actually, you can see that you need to persuade your readers, actually, it's a committee, why you're the perfect candidate for a certain position. And here we have the key word to persuade. And I would like to stop here and to explain what does it mean. So persuade, it means that not about the influence, it's not about humiliation. It means that you need to present such kind of information that will be, first of all, powerful and will show your real reasons to be a part of something. That is why your main task is to use specific words, including language, including your writing skills, in order to show that you're the best candidate for the given position. That's your main task in motivational letter. Let's go down and discuss where do we use motivational letter. So first of all, commonly this type of document we followed by a transcript of your grades after school, for example, or a resume if we're speaking about a job position. Usually we need motivation letter for education program, that's the common one. And if we're speaking about current situation, you need to include your motivation letter for bachelor programs as well as master's programs. That is why that's the requirement. You need to write motivation letter. Then it may be a nonprofit organization. It may be a volunteering, it may be internship, as well as I have mentioned, it may be some kind of job vacancies. Sometimes as the requirement, you need to write a motivation letter, as well as it may be some kind of courses, but usually, and the most common, it's some kind of programs, especially study programs and education programs. Moving on. Let's speak about the organization of motivational letter, and that I hope and I think is the most important thing to know. Writing is always a pretty complicated stuff, and for most of students, it may be even the most difficult part in using language, no matter is it foreign language or native language. At the same time, writing, it's like a game. When you know the rules, everything gonna be easy. That is why for writing a motivational letter, all you need to know is the structure. If you follow the rules, if you follow the structure, as a result, you will have a successful writing. In motivational letter, we have the same structure as in essay writing, as in writing in general. We have introduction part, we have body paragraphs, and we have conclusion. Right now, we will speak generally about these parts, and then I will explain each part separately. So, introduction, body paragraphs, conclusion. Usually, in motivational letter, we have three paragraph structure. Sometimes it may be completely enough. One paragraph for introduction, one paragraph for body, and one paragraph for conclusion. And also, as you can see, dedicating each paragraph to the particular section of your letter. At the same time, we can imagine that you have a pretty huge experience. You have a lot of achievements, you have a lot of competitions, projects, goals, aims. In that case, it's possible to broaden your letter and to write from 3 to 7 paragraphs. That's possible, not the often, actually, but that's possible in case of your achievements. If we're speaking about the average size of motivation letter, it's from 3 paragraphs to 5. That's the most popular type of writing. One paragraph for introduction, two, three for body parts, and one for a conclusion. The structure is pretty similar, the same as essay writing. 5% of writing its introduction, 5-10% its conclusion, and all the rest that's the body paragraph. But in essay writing, we mentioned that body paragraphs is like the most important because there will be examples, there will be facts, arguments, and so on and so forth. In motivational letter, telling you honestly, each part is important and each part should be well structured and actually good developed. Anyway, let's get started with introduction. And right now, let's stop here. Introduction, as you can see, is just one paragraph. The most common question is how many sentences should be in introduction? Well, I mentioned just approximately. It's from 3 to 5 sentences. Is it possible to have more than 5 sentences in introduction? Yes, it's possible, but there is no need to overload your writing. So keep in mind that it should be like up to 10. Can it be less than 3 sentences? No, that's simply not enough in order to start your motivation letter. That is why the average like 3-5 sentences, but once again, it may be like plus sentences, but not less than 3. What is the main task of introductory part? So here you can see the purpose. The first one, you need to grab attention and clearly state your intentions. It must be done already in your introductory part. You need to briefly introduce yourself. What do I mean under briefly? So you may start with like mentioning your name, your surname, and then generally you will start with your education. There is no need to tell your autobiography. So there is no need to tell how old are you, where were you born, and so on and so forth, your family members and the other stuff. So briefly, but not the narrative story of your life. The next one, what must be done in introductory part, you need to mention the program, course you're applying for, as well as university, as well as the job position, and so on and so forth. That must be mentioned already in introductory part to have a clear focus and direction of your writing. The last one point is you're trying to identify your motivation. As you can see here, I just mentioned you're trying because the main part of your motivation will be mentioned in the body part of your writing. At the same time, in introductory part, you can mention a little bit about your motivation, just because our function is motivational letter. So what kind of phrases you may use in introductory part? You may use like, I'm writing to express my strong interest in, and then it may be a subject, program, course. I'm currently completing my, for example, degree, my bachelor degree. I'm eager to pursue some kind of goals, ideas, aims, targets. I'm highly motivated to develop, to evolve, and so on and so forth. Let's go down. After writing an introductory part, we're moving to the body part. Body, as we can say previously, it's usually 2-3 paragraphs. If you have less, if you have just one paragraph, it's okay. So do not concentrate so seriously. It only depends on your qualifications, your experience. So generally, it's 2-3 paragraphs. If it's one, let it be, but let's make it well developed. The main task of body paragraph is to show your qualification and once again your motivation. So motivation is the key element that you're going to return and to emphasize all the time in your writing. Qualifications, it's about your academic success, it's about your experience, educational experience, as well as if you want to mention about working experience, let it be. So, what do we have here? You need to write about your academic background. Academic background, it means everything that connects with education in your life. It may be your school, it may be some study programs, it may be, for example, some courses, it may be educational internship. So, everything that you had in your life connecting with the academic life. At the same time, in the body part, you need to include your current achievements, skills, experience, reputation, if it's, for example, very prominent. And let's focus here. What about achievements? Unfortunately, a lot of students may face with the problem that they think they do not have enough achievements yet. And there is actually the struggle that they could not develop the body part of motivational letter. Once again, if there is no prominent achievements, okay, let it be, no problem. Go next to your skills, and I'm sure that you have them. So, skills, once again, it may be also the kind of problem. At the same time, think deeply about yourself. So, you may speak about, for example, good communication skills. You may speak about working in team. You may speak about a good time management. You may speak about critical skills, analytical skills. Everything is absolutely okay for a motivational letter. For example, good leadership skills. Speaking about experience, so that's once again pretty close to the general achievements, but at the same time, you may speak about some project that you have worked. You may speak about your future project that you want to work with or develop. Reputation, once again, it also depends on your achievements, your experience. Uh, if you think that it worth mentioning in the body part, you may include it, but remember that it's not about, for example, humiliation, as well as it's not about um, over emotionalism. So if you have something to say based on your achievements and your experience about your reputation, it's better to include in your motivational letter. Also, the main task of body, as you can see with the arrow, is to focus on your motives, your motivation or goals, plus related interests and hobbies. This one part is pretty interesting. What does it mean? Um, if we're speaking about your motivation, a lot of students may say, I do not have motivation at all. Like, I don't know what is my motivation. In that case, think about your interests. Think about the ideas that you're into so much. Think about your hobbies. You may include it in your motivational letter, but as I mentioned, something related. For example, if you're going to speak about your communication skills, you may also include that you love working with people, that you love working in a team, you love working actually on different projects together with other people. If your hobbies and interests, if they're not related to the topic, it's better to avoid them. That's my sincere advice because you just waste the time, you will have irrelevant sentences, but no success. That is why, in case of your interest and hobbies, it's better to include everything that connects directly with your motivation, or, for example, study program you're applying for. That will be much more better. What is more, what should I mention about interest and hobbies? If your motivational letter is successful, obviously after that you will have an oral interview. During the interview, you may tell more about your interests and hobbies, even if there is no relation to the general motivational letter. In that case, it's acceptable. But in writing, it's better to be specific and direct. That is why all of your sentences should be relevant according to the topic or according to your motivation, your goals, and your motives. Let's go next. Speaking about useful phrases that you can use in body part. So you can say, I believe that. From the knowledge I gained, and hear about your past experience, for example. I have always been, I plan to apply the knowledge my experience have taught me. So once again, here you need to mention about what have been already done and what you're planning to do with the help of your future career or, for example, the course or study program. Moving next, we're speaking about conclusion. Conclusion, I guess that's the easiest thing that you can do in writing. That the last one part of your motivation letter. That's always one paragraph. Actually, it's equal to introductory part. It may be like from 3 to 5 sentences. What should you do in conclusion? In conclusion, you need to summarize your key qualifications. You need to restate your motivation. So once again, we spoke about motivation 3 times. It should be mentioned in introduction, of course, in body part, once again in conclusion. You need to be confident in your words, in your things. You need to leave strong final impression, and you need to show that you're ready for the further cooperation. Please take into consideration, in conclusion, you could not present new information. That's it. New information may be just in the body part, but not in conclusion. In conclusion, you just restate everything what was said before, once again emphasizing on your motivation and your qualifications. So here you can use such sentences like, thank you for considering my application. You can use, I would be honored to become a part of, I strongly believe that. Writing conclusion, as I mentioned before, it's the easiest thing that you need to do. But in order to have a good final impression, you need greatly develop the body part, and you also need to develop greatly your introductory part. Introduction is hard because your main task is to grab attention, to catch attention of the committee. But please do not use some creative statements. I mean, like, it's not an essay. You could not start with, I don't know, like questions or quotations or shocking facts just because it's a document. That is why here you need to be pretty direct. At the same time, think about how to develop your writing in that way that it may be interesting even for the committee. Body part, as I mentioned, we're focusing on your skills, experience, achievements, reputations, goals, plus interest. In conclusion, we just summarize everything what was said before without presenting new information. But speaking about the sentences like, thank you for considering my application, or I would be honored to become a part, that's actually a good way, like to say thank you for reading, as well as I'm ready for further cooperation. That is why don't forget to be respectful to the committee and to show that you're thankful for actually considering your application form. Let's speak directly about what should you do and what is better to avoid in motivation letter. Let's start with the left side with the green square and let's go. The first one, what must be done in your writing, it's logical order. Here we're focusing on coherence and cohesion. Pretty strange definitions, but anyway, what does it mean? It means that everything in your writing should be well organized. Well organized, it means that you need to build order of importance, chronological order. For motivational letter, there is no need to build chronological order for sure. But anyway, you need to organize your ideas according to the structure of a good motivational letter. If we're speaking about logical order and coherence and cohesion, you also need to use transitional or linking words. I hope you remember what does it mean. It may be such words like first, second, third, however, but, and, or. So they will help you to stay focused, to be pretty organized, and to have a good logical order in your writing. Number two is appropriacy in language use. So you need to use language, no matter is it foreign or your actually native language, in that way that you really use it in your daily life. What do I mean? There is no need to write over complex sentences and to use very complex, difficult words if you normally do not use them. Why? Because imagine the situation. Your motivational letter is highly official with complex sentences, compound sentences, and very difficult language, I mean, like words. But when you have an interview, you just operate with the easy words, like the kind of disbalance. That is why you need to be in your writing the same as you are in the oral communication. And that's the best solution because it will be obvious that your motivation letter may be actually created not by yourself. Maybe it's ChatGPT, maybe it's dictionary, but it's not you at all. That is why please do not forget that you need to be the same in your writing as in your real life. You need to use the same vocabulary, active vocabulary that you use in your daily life. The third one point is proofreading, and it's always must. Proofreading is to check your writing after finishing. Proofreading helps you to identify your mistakes, for example, grammar mistakes, spelling mistakes, punctuation mistakes, but quite often we may not catch a mistake just because we're the author of our writing, we're highly impressive and creative, and we just miss some kind of mistakes. In that case, it's better to ask someone also to look through. It may be your parents, it may be your friends, it may be your teachers, actually person you trust, just to look through and to identify if there or are there some kind of mistakes. At the same time, if we're speaking about proofreading and writing in general, I would like to mention that writing it's a pretty complicated thing to do. That is why do not rely that you will have just the first draft and that's it. Motivation letter needs time. So you will spend time on writing and thinking about your motivation. You may have more than one draft. It may be two, three, or even more drafts before you will have the final version of the great motivational letter. That is why please do not concentrate so strongly that it's not successful from the first time. It's okay, it's writing, and you need to spend time for thinking, for collecting your thoughts, for creating sentences, for building order, and of course, for using proper language cues. Number four, should demonstrate engagement, desire, persistence to achieve personal and career goals. I guess it's clear because it's motivation letter, and obviously you need to show that you're interested in, but once again, without any kind of accumulation. So show your real interest, show your real desires, show that you're ready to work on and to develop yourself. That's the main idea of motivational letter, and actually that's already your motivation. What about the red flag? Let's call it in that way. Don'ts. What is better to avoid in a motivational letter? So there is no place for uncertain thoughts or, for example, vague ideas. So what does it mean? Everything should be as number one in the green flag. So everything should be logically structured. Uncertain thoughts, it means that you're not sure, you're also insecure in your ideas. For example, when you use such phrases like, I don't know, I'm not sure, maybe. So forget about that kind of sentences. In motivational letter, you need to be confident enough. As well as please do not use too many filler words. Filler words means that you simply do not have enough vocabulary to express your thoughts. Filler words, it's just the kind of words that you use like in order to fill in the space. It may be such words like, a lot of times, or okay, or something like that. So in writing the same situation as in speaking, it's better to filter the words and, for example, to paraphrase your sentences. Do not use irrelevant facts. We have already mentioned about it at the beginning. So everything should be organized and pretty structured. That is why there is no need to include a lot of biography. So there is no need to do it. Once again, you can do it during your interview. There is no need to speak about irrelevant experience if there is no connection between your motivational letter. There is no need to speak about your family members if, once again, it's absolutely irrelevant to the course, study program, or a job that you're applying for. And number four, it's pretty important thing that you need to control. Do not use contractions in official documents. What does it mean, contractions? Contractions, it's short forms. For example, isn't, don't, that's contractions. You need to write fully. Is not, do not, I will, for example. Why? Because contractions in official documents considered to be an act of disrespect, even if you do not feel so. But in writing, you need to express yourself as well as the kind of respect with the proper writing cues. That is why you need to write fully. And that will be the act of respect to the committee or the person who's gonna read your letter, no matter is it motivation letter or any other forms of writing. You may use contractions, short form, when you speak with your friends, family members, in your private messages, in your social media, it's acceptable. As well as in oral communication, you may use short form. It's okay. That's not the act of disrespect. But in writing, we just see the words, but we do not see you clearly. I mean, like your face, it's not face-to-face conversation. That is why the act of respect may be depicted with the help of a full form of writing. Please take it into consideration. So, motivation letter, for example, letter of recommendation, business writing, business letters, business emails, you need to write fully without short forms. I guess that's clear. Let's move on and let's speak about weak sentences. So we have already mentioned that when you show uncertainty, that's the weak side of your motivational letter. So such phrases like, it seems to be interesting, maybe, I deserve it because I think it will help me. Currently, I'm not sure. I don't know. So the problem is you do not have still a great motivation. You're not confident in yourself, as well as your motivational letter will be pretty weak because there is no strong arguments and there is no strong side of your statements. Speaking about sentence number 3, I deserve it because I. That sounds like pretty confident, but do not misuse confidence and arrogance. That's two different things. That is why, of course, you need to be confident, but do not overdo it with the help of your sentences. As well as in these sentences, I deserve it because I, as well as I think, currently I don't know. We have a lot of I pronoun. Well, in writing, there is such thing as I statement. It's when you use a lot of I pronoun in your writing. I think, I believe, I am, and so on and so forth. When it's possible to paraphrase in order not to use always I, it will be the best solution. In motivation letter, that's actually about you. That is why it's acceptable when you have sentences starting with I and using a lot of I. But once again, if it's possible to paraphrase, it will be the best case for any type of writing, because when you use a lot of I, the main focus is on I, but not even in the sense of your writing. That is why that's the problematic issue. Once again, it is called I statement, and if it's possible to paraphrase sentence, it will be perfect. In that case, you will have a good logical order, you will still be focused, as well as the readers will be focused on the main idea of your writing, but not just on an I pronoun. Such sentence like I don't know or maybe, or as well as, for example, modal words like may, might, they show that you're not sure in your words, in your sentences, in yourself. That's actually the problem. How are you going to persuade the committee if you're not sure in yourself? So we still remember that the main function of motivational letter is to persuade. If you use maybe, I don't know, I think like you're not going to persuade. That is why, once again, think about sentences. What about your motivation? If your motivation is still like, I don't know, or because of my parents. So that's also a weak statements that are not going to persuade the readers. Even if you still do not have a clear motivation why you are applying for this university just because your parents told you to do it. So create it in more creative way. I mean, like say that your parents is your role model, for example, and they help you to, for example, develop yourself in that way. It will be much more better, not because you say like maybe or I don't know why I'm here. So think deeply about the ways how you can develop your motivation, even if you're not stable right now, even if you're not secure for 100%. Still remember that your task is to persuade, first of all, yourself, as well as then readers and the committee. Moving next. Once again, if you struggle, for example, I don't know, what should I write? What should I do? Please help. In that case, try to focus on main questions. Here we have 3 main questions that may help you to develop your writing. Question number one is why this course, this university, this study program? You need to have a clear answer. Why? Why exactly here? Such question will help you to speak about like enthusiasm, reasons, and enjoy. If you do not have an answer why this course or this university, so obviously maybe that's not the best solution for you. I mean, this course or this university. The question should be clear and the answer should be clear. Question number two, that's pretty philosophical question. What do I have to offer? That's about your strengths, your strongest side. That's about something special in yourself. That's about your experience, achievements, your skills, everything as we discussed. And obviously, that's like the body part of your writing. So think about your strongest sides. Once again, if you're even not sure that they're strong, speak about your experience. So if you have a good project working in the team, speak about you as a team worker. Speak about you as a leader of a team. Speak about your communicative skills, analytical skills, critical skills. If you're good in writing, mention that you have a good writing skills. If you're good in math, for example, speak about such part of your life. Anyway, be proud of yourself. It's okay. That's not a problem, and that's not something bad if you speak about you in a good mood and with the strongest side. The third one question, what are your future plans and goals? That's the problematic question for almost everyone, not only for students, but for adults also. How can we speak about future if future is pretty vague and uncertain? So speak about nearest future. Speak about what you're planning to do after finishing university, or for example, after finishing some study programs. So what your ideas, what your desires, and what your goals, how would you like to develop yourself after? With the help of this university course or study program. So think about your goals, nearest goals, contributions, maybe your future career development. Where would you like to work? Why exactly this university? Because of your future career development and your career plans. Of course, we cannot be sure for about 100%. That's obvious. That's okay. But dream a little bit. What are you waiting for, and what would you like to have in future? So these three questions may help you to structure your motivational letter and to think deeply about yourself and who you are. So let's go down. Speaking about advices, what to do in order you don't know how to start your writing. So once again, number one, we have already discussed, you may speak about or you may ask the specific direct questions, and by giving the answer, you're building your motivational letter. As well as you may do any other pre-writing strategies. You may try a visual map or mapping. So that's actually this one point and this one point. It means that you organize everything by circles or squares. So you may divide, for example, my past, my present, my future, and just to have some kind of ideas. You may have listing, just list your thoughts, your ideas about yourself, about your goals, about your future. You may have brainstorming or discussion with someone if it may help you to develop your motivational letter and to think about your motivation in general. So there are a lot of different techniques and pre-writing strategies that you may use. All of them, they're individual. For someone, it's okay, just start writing. For someone, it's better to collect ideas and then start writing. For someone, it's communication with peers, with family members, maybe with teachers, with a boyfriend, girlfriend, no matter with the person you trust to develop more and to think more about yourself. But I will say honestly, writing, it's not just to sit and to write. You need to collect your ideas, to organize them. Once again, writing is not just from the first draft. You need to understand it and you need to accept it. You need to develop yourself in writing. That is why you will have more than one draft before having the perfect motivational letter. Let's go next. So once again, some kind of useful phrases. And here we have the beginning. For example, dear Mr. Mrs., if you know the recipient's name. You may use dear admissions committee. You may use to whom it may concern. I will say that this one is pretty average for study programs, as well as this one, to whom it may concern right now, considered to be very popular, in order not to mention the gender case. So, to whom it may concern, it's absolutely okay beginning of any possible types of writing, like official, as well as if it's a recommendation letter or a motivational letter. So I am writing to express, I would like to engage in, I believe that, I consider it, I hope, I am confident, I am skilled in conclusion, to summarize, sincerely, faithfully. Please do not forget about the common structure of letters. You need to have the first part, to whom, as well as at the end, you need to write sincerely or faithfully, according to the Respect Act in writing. About the middle sentences, like I'm writing to express, I would like, I believe, I consider. Once again, a lot of I, but it doesn't mean that you need to use all of these sentences in your motivational letter. Diverse it, paraphrase it, work with your vocabulary, work with the grammatical structure of your sentences. But please do not forget that, first of all, you need to stay focused, you need to have a clear motivation, clear goals, and logical order in your words and in your sayings. Moving next, I would like to emphasize on the common questions that may be. The first question is the length of a motivational letter. So, usually, all official documents should be no more than 1 page. That is why you can imagine a page, let's call it that way. So, the page, that's the average size. How many words? 300, 500 words. Usually it's, as we have already mentioned, from 3 to 5 paragraphs. If your experience is so huge, obviously you will have more than 1 page. If it's possible to make it more succinct, make it brief, so remember that your best limit is 1 page. It's the best solution. The next one, speaking about the difference of different types of letters. So cover letter, usually it's job related, that's about your CV, resume. Personal statement. Quite often in internet you can find motivation letter slash personal statement. They're close, but at the same time they're different. Personal statement, it's more narrative, it's more about your life. Here you can tell more about some stories from your life. And personal statement usually we use for undergraduate students. Persuasive writing, also pretty close, because the main task of motivational letter is to persuade, yes, but persuasive writing, it's more emotional, and you emphasize on your emotional state. What do you feel? It may also be a part of narration, so it may be like a part of story of your life, but once again, it's more emotional, and you're trying to persuade someone with your emotional state. Motivation letter, more academic, less emotional, absolutely not narrative. And of course, it's related to the study programs. Question number 3, how should I sound? So you need to be professional, you need to be confident, you need to be respectful, you need to be enthusiastic, you need to show your desire, you need to finally identify your motivation to be here or to study here. My favorite question, I skipped it on the slide, but let's discuss it like face to face. Should you lie in motivation letter? Well, definitely you can. Like, why not? But the question is, you still remember that after a successful motivational letter, you will have an interview, and there you will have face-to-face communication with the admission committee. So the question is, do you still need to lie? It's very, very visible when your motivational letter is about one person, but the real life is about the other person. That is why I'm not sure that's the best solution to do, because it will be visible and it will be completely understandable. As well as I mentioned about the language, when in motivational letter you use highly professional, complex vocabulary, but in real life, you're so simple. That is why, once again, that's the huge difference. Be as you are. There is no need to hide yourself. There is no need to hide yourself under the ChatGPT or dictionaries. So be as you are, and that's the best solution. The next one question, my favorite, is um, should ChatGPT write motivation letter? Well, definitely it can, obviously. But the main task of ChatGPT is just to do the task. Your task is to identify yourself in this pretty, strange, wizard, bizarre, and completely spooky world. That is why that's pretty important for you to identify who you are, what's your goals, what's your motivation, what would you like to do in future, and how you're going to develop yourself. Well, that's only about you, not even about ChatGPT. So let's take a look. What do we have an example of motivation letter finally? I will try to zoom it. Well, before zooming, you can see the size. One page as we discuss. So you can see the size of paragraphs. You can see that the body part is the most important part of your writing. So the first one, we have contact details. To whom, actually. Then we have introductory part, dear professor, if you know the name, to whom it may concern, to admission committee, and so on and so forth. Then you're including personal information, what course, where, and why are you applying. So here we have like, I'm writing to express my interest in specific program in the specific department. I have always considered politics to be one of the most influencing factors. That's the motivational letter about the politics. So I have always been fascinated by the level of confidence and so on and so forth. So as we discussed the question, who you are, why this course, and why you are applying. So you're starting to identify your motivation. Body part, your achievement story, your genuine information, skills, and so on and so forth. So I believe that there is no better place than your university, for example. Here we also, I gained from my previous studies. I have always been a hardworking, a passionate student. I never left a due assignment. I gained my political interest from the volunteer work and so on and so forth. Do the best in this part because it's considered to be the most influential part in motivational letter. That's the main key. That's you, your achievements, your plans. Then we have conclusion, like your future plans by summarizing previous and thanking to the reader. So, for example, I would like to dedicate myself into politics, and I hope that during my stay in the USA, I will be able to contribute to the local community as best as I can. I'm confident, and so on. I hope my application will get due consideration at your hands, as we mentioned, to say thank you for reading. And after that, yours sincerely, your faithfully, your name and your surname. So that's the idea of a good motivation letter. And I'm pretty sure that all of you can do it successfully. The main task is to think a little bit more about who you are and what's your real goals and your real desires. So I'm so thankful to see you today. I hope it was useful for you to understand that motivational letter is not the complicated stuff. It's absolutely okay to write. It's the common thing you will face with motivational letter pretty often, for sure. So you understand that right now, when you're applying for the bachelor degree, you need to have motivational letter and you need to submit it. If you're planning to go to the master programs, you need to write motivational letter. If you are thinking about, for example, having educational programs, you need to have motivational letter. If you're thinking about volunteerism, you need to have a motivational letter. And what is more, motivational letter, that's the pretty cool thing in order to think about who you are really and what you're thinking about. So guys, thank you so much. In case of question, you're welcome to ask. If there is no question, hope to see you again. And thanks for coming. That was a pleasure.